This is a video that I recorded with my conversation with my British Sign Language teacher, and I explained that I want to practice my sign language and record it so that I can watch myself back. And he says, great. And he asks me what I'm going to be talking about because as part of the assessment, you have to pick one of 4 subjects. I didn't quite understand, so I asked him to repeat please again. And the topic I picked, my topic is going to be my house. And he asked me, in my house, who do I live with? I explained I live with my partner and 2 children. And he asks, my children, are they girls or boys? I say I have 2 boys, or it was the same sign as son. And he asks, what's their name? I say my first son, his name is finger spell. And the teacher repeats this back to show comprehension. And my second son, his name is, and I finger. And again, the teacher repeats it back to me. And he asks, what's their age? My first son is 12, and my second son, his age is 9. The teacher, and then I ask the teacher to take it in turns, whether he has children, and he says he has 2 children. And I ask whether it is a son or daughter, which one? He says he has 1 boy and 1 girl. And he asks, in a full house, how many bedrooms do I have? I say, in my house I have 3 bedrooms. And he then asks whether they're small or big. And I take that to be whether my house is medium, because it is semi-detached. And I did the sign not quite correct, so he corrected my sign for semi-detached. He asks, where do I live? I say, my house is in Portsmouth. And he repeats back. And then I'm trying to think of a question to ask him about, to take it in turns in questioning. I ask clumsily, to arrive to college, how long does it take from his house? And he repeats, to arrive here from his house about 30 minutes by car. And he asks, my house, bathroom, 1, 2, the kitchen, and the garden, what's the size? And I'm thinking the bathroom, and then he asks about the garden, and I say the garden is quite big, it's actually quite long. And then he asked me to describe my lounge, which is part of the assessment to practice placements. So we start at the door, the lounge, and you work your way left, and I indicate I have a 3-seater sofa. And then he asks, oh, what colour is the sofa? I say the colour is purple. And moving round the room in the corner, I have a lamp. And moving round to the other corner, I have a TV, and that is on a TV stand. And he asks, oh, what's the TV? What's the name or the make? I say, oh, the TV, the make is a, and I finger spell this element, a Toshiba. And working my way around the room, I have a fireplace. And in the corner, I have a house plant. And moving back to the last wall, I have a armchair. And in the center of the room, I have a coffee table. He asks, oh, the coffee table, is it big or small? I say it's quite small. And then he asks, which seat do I prefer? And I asked him to repeat. He said, the seat, which one do you like? I said, my favourite seat is the three-seater sofa. And he asks, why? And I say, oh, because it's quite big. And then he asks, oh, is it because it's comfortable? Yes, it's quite comfortable. And then I ask him about the question of the garden. And he says, oh, it's quite a big garden, but it's quite different because it's quite long. But actually, he's got an office at the bottom of his garden, which makes it quite small. And aiming for 5 minutes without having a time, I say, oh, shall we finish the conversation? And say, see you next week, and thank you. And that was the end of the conversation with my teacher.